Hello everyone, I would like to welcome you to our NANOSENSORS product screencast. Today I would like to guide you through our high aspect ratio silicon AFM probes brochure. NANOSENSORS develops and manufactures tips for scanning probe microscopy. My name is Oliver Krause, I'm developing AFM tips for NANOSENSORS. If you have the need to measure samples with high aspect ratio features and sidewall angles close to 90 degrees, like trenches, capacitor cells or contact holes in the manufacturing process of semiconductor devices, NANOSENSORS has designed high aspect ratio tips, the AR5, AR5T, AR10 and AR10T. All 4 tip models are based on the NANOSENSORS PointProbe Plus technology. The last micrometers of those tips show a radial, symmetrical high aspect ratio portion with a small diameter and near vertical sidewalls and a tip radius of about 10 nanometer. Let me point out on the tip features of the AR10 and AR5. On the SEN images on the left side, we can see the tip pyramid of an AR10 probe and a close-up of the high aspect ratio portion of the tip with its dimensions. The minimum length of the high aspect ratio portion of the AR10 tip is 1.5 microns and shows an aspect ratio better than 10:1. This leads us to a tip diameter of less than 150 nanometers and a tip half-cone angle of smaller than 2.8 degree. For the AR5 probe, the high aspect ratio portion of the AR5 tip is longer than 2 microns and shows an aspect ratio better than 5:1 at a tip height of 2 microns. The tip diameter is less than 400 nanometer at this height, and the tip half-cone angle is smaller than 5 degree. When we mount the probe into the AFM, cantilever and tip will be tilted by an AFM type specific angle. This angle is normally 10 or 13, for specific machines only 3 degrees. To compensate this tilt angle, we offer our AR5 and AR10 tips as tilt-corrected AR5T and AR10T versions. That means that the high aspect ratio portion of the tip is tilted 13 degrees relative to the center axis of the tip. As a result of the tilt compensation, the high aspect ratio portion of the tip will stand exactly perpendicular to the sample surface. Now we are able to measure deep and narrowest features and will resolve an absolutely symmetrical image. The upper left SEM image is showing an AR10T tip. The high aspect ratio portion of the AR10T tip is longer than 1.5 microns and shows an aspect ratio better than 10:1 at this height. This corresponds to a tip diameter of less than 150 nanometers at this point. The tip half-cone angle is smaller than 2.8 degree. The high aspect ratio portion of the tip is tilted 13 plus minus 1 degree with respect to the center axis of the tip. The lower left SEM image shows the high aspect ratio portion of an AR5T tip. The spike height is more than 2 microns. The tip half-cone angle is smaller than 5 degree. Again, the high aspect ratio needle is tilted 13 plus minus 1 degree. For both types, for the AR5T as well as for the AR10T, other tilt angles are available on request. On this slide, an application example is shown to point out on the need of the usage of high aspect ratio tips and why they should be tilted. The sample features shown here is a relatively large hole, but this is necessary to demonstrate why a standard silicon tip is not able to image the feature correctly. The figure here is showing cross-section of scanned lines of an identical hole etched into silicon. The black line represents the measurement performed with a standard AFM probe. The blue and red lines are representing the measurements performed with NANOSENSORS AR5 and AR5T probes respectively. Due to the larger cone angle compared with the AR type probes, the standard silicon probe can absolutely not reproduce the structure nor the vertical sidewall correctly. If we take a look at the blue line scanned with the AR5, the feature is described more correctly, but the image is not symmetric. This is caused by the mounting of the probes to the scanner head at an angle of about 13 degrees. The AR5 probe can describe just one slope of the hole correctly. Only the red line scanned with a tilt-compensated probe is able to reproduce the shape of the feature correctly. I would like to summarize the features of the high aspect ratio portion of the different probe types. The length of the high aspect ratio portion is longer than 1.5 microns for the AR10 and AR10T model and longer than 2 microns for AR5 and AR5T. The aspect ratio, as indicated in the product's name, is better than 5:1 and 10:1 respectively. The tilt angles are either 0 or 13 degrees with a maximum deviation of ±1 degree. And finally, the tip radius. Here we decided not to provide the smallest radius possible. We choose a robust but still sharp tip with a radius of about 10 nanometer. NANOSENSORS high aspect ratio AFM tips are available on acoustic or tapping mode cantilever. The whole high aspect ratio series comes with an aluminum reflex coating on the cantilever backside. Thank you for your interest and your attention. You can download our high aspect ratio probes product brochure from our website. If you have any questions, want to give feedback or need more information, please get in touch and contact us at info@nanosensors.com.